call it yesterday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon football at Heinz Field. Unbeaten Steelers taking on the ravaged Ravens. Midway through the first and no score. On a fourth down, Ben Roethlisberger just floats one up into the end zone. Tyus Bowser with the pick. Now, important to note, Bowser brings it out of the end zone, which is a mistake. And they're backed up in their own territory, and this happens. RG3, picked off by Joe Hayden, takes it in for the score, so the Steelers do get a touchdown out of the sequence. They missed the extra point, so it's 6-0 Pittsburgh. Late second, Ravens down 12-7, 3rd and 11. This was their best play all day long. RG, tuck it and run it. 39 yards on this one. Actually, his longest run since his rookie year. And that would set up this terrible sequence for the Ravens. After they had called their last time out of the half, you see the time remaining. Tick, 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 tick. They run it to Gus Edwards. He is stuffed. The Steelers, understandably, in no hurry to get the next playoff. John Harbaugh is demanding a delay of game penalty. He doesn't get it. The Ravens finally get everything set up and lined up, and they snap the ball with, as you see, 3 seconds remaining. They throw it up. Luke Wilson can't bring it down. And just like that, they come away with absolutely nothing. Early fourth quarter, it's still 12-7. It's Ben. It's Juju Smith-Schuster. It's a touchdown. Steelers up 19-7. Feels like they're going to easily take this one to the house, especially when you see RG3 standing there with the ice on the hamstring. So Trace McSorley is in. Pay no attention to him. You saw the circle on your screen. That is Bud Dupree, the outstanding pass rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Down he goes, no contact. They fear it's an ACL. Shefty will have the latest coming up in just moments, but that would be a devastating loss. Meanwhile, next Ravens drive. How do the Steelers allow this? Hollywood Brown faking people out and going to the house. 70 yards. Trace McSorley's first career touchdown pass. Ravens within 19-14. Just over 2 minutes left. Steelers trying to run out the clock. Oh, what a dangerous throw. Ben throwing it up, but James Washington, strong hands, securing that as the Steelers eat up the clock. And here's the one that puts it out of reach. Benny Snell driving forward on a 3rd and 1. They rule it a first down. Not everybody's certain that he got it, but one way or another, what is certain is the Steelers have not lost a game this year.
To be bluntly honest, man, I'm really disappointed in our performance tonight. We did enough to win, but that's all. It was really junior varsity, to be quite honest with you. Not a lot happened tonight to be proud of or to be excited about.
You had some red zone failures and a number of drop passes. What do you attribute that to? Anything in particular?
Us sucking.
So that is quite blunt, and he may not be happy, but a Steeler win keeps them a game up on the Chiefs for first place in the AFC playoff picture, and you see the Ravens all the way at the bottom of the right end of your screen right now on the outside looking in, but we will go through their remaining schedule a little bit later. Let's bring in the crew again, and I'm delighted to welcome in. Dominique is here, and Lewis is here, D. Wood and Shefty. I will come to you in a moment on the terrible injury news for the Steelers, but let's just start big picture here. The Steelers 11-0. Why, Dominique, do you think Mike Tomlin was so upset?
I think Mike Tomlin was upset because they didn't play well again against another opponent that they should have dominated, and he knows they can't afford to drop a game. I know often we talk about teams who go undefeated late in the season, and we talk about should they rest their players late in the year? Should they be more focused on the playoffs? I think Mike Tomlin knows that they're going to need to go 16-0 to guarantee themselves that single first-round bye and to give them the best chance to get to the Super Bowl, because I don't think this team is going to be capable of winning 3 playoff games in a row to get to the Super Bowl. They're going to need that bye, and they're going to need to have Kansas City have to come to Pittsburgh. So he knows how important these games are, and they can't afford to drop any of them.
I get that. But, Lewis, here's the way I viewed it. The circumstances of this game were so crazy with all the delays and all the Wednesday afternoon and everything else. To me, it felt like just getting the win felt like enough. Did you think it was as alarming from a Pittsburgh standpoint as Tomlin seems to have?
Yeah, I see what his point is, especially when you're talking about things that really do determine outcomes of games that they didn't play very well at, that they didn't execute very well, that being in the red area. And then as far as, dropping passes and not executing just basic fundamental principles of football. Those are the things that he's disappointed at. Yeah, it has extenuating circumstances with how this week has been managed as far as, from a scheduling standpoint. But the drop passes, look, these guys are professionals. They have one of the best wide receiver corps in the NFL. And you saw Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Eric Ebron. They all dropped passes, and they all dropped passes that could have put this game out of reach. There you have James Washington. So they need to do better at that. The defense, as well as it played, could have played even better. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick dropped an interception as well. So I think that those are the kind of things that coaches always fret over. And I think they need this bye because their bye weekends have been messed up all year long. Mm-hmm. They need the rest. I'm not really worried about home field advantage because of the lack of fans this year. And I think no matter where you play, the environment's going to be so sterile, it's not going to matter anyway. But they just need the rest. They need a full week where they can just sit back and get their guys healed, stay away from the facility, because they haven't really had that yet.
Can I jump in just for a second? Because I was hit with a Mike Tomlin-ism in my brain when you started laying out all those excuses. Because excuses are the tools of the incompetent. That's why Mike Tomlin is a champion, and you're out here advocating for shooting for ties. So I'll let somebody else say something. But when I heard that, that's all I could think of was how Mike Tomlin must have just fidgeted in his sleep feeling you make excuses for a team that doesn't want him.
That's fair enough. On this show, the standard is the standard, Neek, and we will never forget that.
There you go.
Shefty, however, the really bad news in Pittsburgh, they fear is about the injury. What do we know about the status of Bud Dupree?
Well, they believe that they're going to learn today that Bud Dupree, their franchise linebacker who did not sign a long-term extension, tore his ACL. And you saw him go down, and you knew right away, as soon as he did it, essentially was non-contact. He grabbed for the knee. We've seen it happen over and over and over, especially this year. And he limped off the field. And again, the moment he did, you knew that it was going to be a significant knee injury. Now, we'll get confirmation today whether it is indeed a torn ACL, but that is the expectation, that he's going to have a torn ACL. He'd be out for the year. And keep in mind, you just watch him go down in that play. If you keep in mind at this particular time, they already lost Devin Bush to a season-ending injury. So now they've lost Devin Bush. Now they've lost Bud Dupree. And now that defense, that was the strength of this team, is not quite as good as it once was.
Absolutely. And so that's why I want to bring it to my offensive lineman here, D. Wood. If they are indeed now without Dupree the rest of the way, from an O-line standpoint, just from an offensive standpoint, how much less scary does that make this Steeler defense?
Oh, it makes them a lot less scary. Because when you look at it now, you had two guys that were terrorists coming off the edge in T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree. Now, if I'm an offensive player, hey, we can focus our attention on T.J. Watt, trying to take him out the game plan. And if you don't have that rush that the Steelers are known for, because they lead the league in sacks, if you don't have that rush, that pressure that they generally been able to get, this is a different Pittsburgh Steelers team. And I know they got guys on the back end, but when you can't pressure the quarterback, that leaves you highly susceptible to the passing game and having a lot of success. So those two injuries, man, particularly Bud Dupree, I think it's going to be a difference maker as far as that Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
And Neek, at the risk of drawing the ire of Tomlin again by projecting forward, that does feel particularly important if we are already thinking about them against Kansas City, right? The ability to get pressure without bringing additional people, that could be a devastating loss.
But they do bring additional people. And I honestly, losing Bud Dupree is sad and unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to hurt their defense nearly as much as the Devin Bush loss. Bud Dupree, I think, benefits quite a bit from their blitz packages. He's not a one-on-one game wrecker in the way that T.J. Watt dominates the pass rush. So losing Bud Dupree, obviously, he's a starter. He's a highly drafted player. It matters, but I'm not sure that it changes this defense nearly as much as when they lost a flexible linebacker like Devin Bush.
All right, so a very quick final thought here, Louis Riddick. As we look, they have tough games left on their schedule. They have Buffalo. They have the Colts. Do you believe the Steelers will go 16-0?
I don't think they'll go 16-0. I think there'll be a slip up at some point in time here, simply because it's just human nature, and it's so hard in the NFL. And they've got some tough opponents there that will be geared up because every team is going to shoot for them now. Obviously, you know how that goes. But as Mike Tomlin says, another Mike Tomlinism: no excuses, no explanations. They'll figure it out, and they'll battle Kansas City in the AFC Championship game.
We're already projecting ahead to that. By the way, if you look carefully at the Ravens side of the screen, they're remaining